Over the weekend, Democrats bent over backwards. Now, not to lament the outrageous lack of truthfulness by former FBI Director Andrew McCabe, but to lament his firing.
What the president did was one of the biggest, I think, character flaws that we see in him. He just lacks human decency. It was cruel the way he did this, to fire someone literally hours before they would have got their pension.
President Trump announced we have 90 days to get McCabe before he retires. He put out basically a hit on him and said, do this before he qualifies for retirement.
I've never seen a president of the United States go after an individual. This is awfully mean-spirited.
Now, frankly, he should have been sacked a long time ago. And you notice what the Democrats weren't discussing there? But let's face it, the government here followed a meticulous process, and they did this all by the book, which is good. The Justice Department's Inspector General forwarded its findings on the conduct of McCabe to the FBI's Office of Professional Responsibility. And it was they who determined that McCabe should be fired. It's a big decision. Now, just so you all know, this office is staffed with career personnel, not Trump loyalists. So when the government learns of wrongdoing, shouldn't it act immediately without regard of who cares when someone's retiring? If it was wrong, it was wrong. And that's what the Justice Department did here. Well, you'll notice that none of the McCabe defenders that you just heard mention the actual reasons for his dismissal, because those are very inconvenient. He's charged with leaking information about an ongoing investigation, the one into the Clinton email scandal, to the Wall Street Journal. Attorney General Sessions said that McCabe lacked candor about those leaks, and at times he did so under oath. That's a big no-no. Now, in a response on Friday night, McCabe claims that the media leaks were done with the permission of the former FBI Director Jim Comey. Now, that could be a big problem for Comey. Why? Well, he's already testified under oath to Congress that he did not engage in leaking, nor did he authorize any leaks. Someone's lying here. And we haven't even talked about Andrew McCabe's conflict of interest. He should have recused himself from investigating Hillary Clinton since his wife, Jill, when she was running for state office in Virginia, received nearly $468,000 from Clinton pal Terry McAuliffe's PAC. And by the way, 4 other Clinton bundlers contributed $130,000 to Mrs. McCabe's campaign. Not a bad haul. And that doesn't constitute at least the appearance of a conflict of interest for her husband, who is investigating Mrs. Clinton. It is patently obvious at this point that the Democrats and their media toadies will defend and or ignore any lawlessness so long as it achieves their political end, which is what? To win back power in Congress and eventually run President Trump out of office. But I was thinking about this. You know, this endorsement of lawlessness, looking the other way at conflicts of interest, this isn't an isolated incident for the left. Remember, these are the same people who applaud the compassion and the courage of public officials who push sanctuary policies in cities like Chicago, Hartford, Connecticut, and all across California. So the average working person has to suffer as violent illegal alien offenders roam free after being released from jail in places like Oakland and down in L.A. And by the way, these are the same people who made all kind of lame excuses for the rioting and destruction by mobs in Baltimore following Freddie Gray's death, and ditto for the nights of looting and fires, those terrible events in Ferguson following the police shooting of Michael Brown. Now, recall that juries acquitted the police officers in each case. And by the way, the same type of people who, going back to the Obama era, they didn't bat an eye when Eric Holder declined to prosecute IRS official Lois Lerner for discriminating against conservative 501c groups, and didn't care that Eric Holder stonewalled Congress regarding the Fast and Furious scandal, which, by the way, I forgot until today, which led to a criminal contempt of Congress resolution against Holder. And, of course, we all remember there were no repercussions for Susan Rice. Remember when she went out and lied to the American people about what spurred that attack on our government compound in Benghazi, Libya? In fact, the only person who was actually charged after 4 Americans were killed there, including the U.S. ambassador, was a man named Ahmed Abu Khattala. And he was found not guilty of 14 of the 18 counts against him. Unbelievable. No accountability. And let us not forget the Democrats, who once prided themselves on caring about protecting civil liberties. They don't seem at all bothered about using the vast power of our intelligence services to spy on members of Donald Trump's campaign team. Although the Democrats and their media surrogates seem fine with this by any means necessary approach, I do not think most Americans are. Check this out. It's a new Monmouth poll that finds that over half of the American public is either very or somewhat worried that the U.S. government is monitoring their activities and invading their privacy. In other words, they're noticing the overreach of the deep state, and they don't like it. This matters to voters. It should. If any of us had done what McCabe did, we'd probably already be in jail. And he may yet be. To understand the dangers at play here, remember when President Trump vowed to reform the intelligence services as he came into office? Do you recall the chilling response of Senator Chuck Schumer at the time?
Let me tell you, you take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
And the deep state has tried to get Trump 6 ways to Sunday ever since. And even when they are caught, as McCabe was, Democrats will defend them because they all share the same goal. At every level, the Democrats have either willingly enabled or tolerated lawlessness, conflicts of interest, and rank bias within our government because they want power back. And that's why they've contorted themselves into these pretzels to protect Hillary, and that's why they're relentlessly pursuing Donald Trump. But I'm telling you, this approach may end up backfiring. President Trump's approval numbers have gone up 4% to 43% in the last month. Maybe I'm being too optimistic, maybe. But I think Americans have a strong sense of innate fairness. And if the Democrats' idea of public service is seen to embrace weaponizing intelligence, spying on American citizens, and yet dismissing obvious criminal acts when committed by their own party or illegal immigrants, well, they may themselves need a November miracle to pull off the kind of wave election that they've been banking on. We'll see. And that's the angle.